Let the record show. There are 4 commissioners present, with Commissioners Geiber and Martin absent.
Okay. So we still have a quorum with 4 of us here. I'm going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. That brings us to agenda item 4, oral communications. Do we have any oral communication speakers today?
There are no speakers for oral communications today.
Okay. Agenda item 5, changes to the agenda. Do we have any changes to today's agenda?
There are no changes to the posted agenda.
Okay, that brings us right to the meat of this meeting, which is agenda item 6A, Senior Citizen Commission Annual Work Plan Goal 9. So the reason we're having this special meeting is we wanted to give plenty of opportunity for there to be public feedback and comment on what we think is it was an important work plan item. Basically, the mayor of City of Encinitas had requested that the commissions review the general plan, the city's general plan, and identify the alignment that each commission has with that general plan. So we did that. We submitted it in our meeting agenda last couple of weeks ago, and the feeling was that we wanted to have more time to invite public comment. So, how do you want to do this? Should I go ahead and review the document first, and then we can go out and see if there's any other comment? So, commissioners, as I walk through the document, if you have questions or comments or changes, go ahead and do that, and then we'll open it up for public. Okay, so this is agenda item 9, work plan item 9, and it's the attachment at the end of the work plan. You want to scroll all the way down.
You have to scroll down.
There you go. Nope, down the other way. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so page 1 of this document is basically our cover letter addressed to the mayor, to members of city council, and we believe city staff as well. I think at minimum we want this to go to the mayor, city council, and city manager, and they can share with as many other staff members as they see fit. I think the letter itself is self-explanatory. It's going to be signed by me on behalf of the Encinitas Senior Citizen Commission, if that's okay with everybody. Okay, and that brings us to
Manager Goodsell, so
yes.
for clarification, will there be a change made here, dear honorable mayor, members of the city council, and city manager?
It can be, yes, that's
Okay.
fine.
Just so we're very clear who it's going to.
Is that okay?
As you mentioned, city manager.
Yeah. Okay. All right, executive summary. This assessment, that's this document, fulfills item 9 in our 2025-2026 work plan. There's actually a reason why we wanted to have this special meeting today, is so that we can actually close out this work plan item before the end of this term. So we start March with a clean slate. It is to review and evaluate the commission's alignment with the City of Encinitas general plan as requested by Mayor Ehlers. And I stated the mission statement of the Senior Citizen Commission, just to put some context into how we perceive this document. And we also talk about some of the important demographic changes that we're seeing in the City of Encinitas, in that the older adult 50-plus population continues to grow in proportion to overall city population. So there's some relevance here that we have some contribution to the general plan. This summarizes the changes that are in the attached document. We've asked for, and so I'll just go into that. So there was a comment that I heard at the end where we say many of the general plan elements have not been revised in 20 years or more. If you look at the physical document itself, you go by the dates that new revisions have occurred. If you look on the website, you'll see dates on the side, a side of the document saying last revised, or I think, and those dates are different. So we can modify the wording to reflect the changes that are within the document only. Just basically say the document itself does not present dates that are more recent than what we're talking about here, because we do identify the dates that we see for each version of the document, or each version of the elements. Okay, so executive summary. Now we're to general findings, and the one change I think we'll make is we'll say general findings hyphen all elements to distinguish that with the other sections which address each individual element. Okay. So what our findings were for consistency, we wanted to see a glossary of terms. There are a couple of reasons. One is some of these terms could be misinterpreted or are not well defined, and we wanted to have clear definition. The other thing is as the definitions for these terms change, we want to make it fairly easy for you to revise a definition rather than go through the entire document. So for example, older adults. Today, it means adults 50 plus. Next year, it may mean something else. We've gone through this before in the years that we've done this, where it was 65 and older, then 60 and older, 55 and older. So we'll say older adults is the term, and the current definition is adults 50 plus. And that's the example that we use. We also highlighted that of all the elements in the general plan, the only element, housing element, that specifically addresses community engagement and feedback is the housing element. None of the other elements talk about this, and we feel that's important. I think as a commission, we've emphasized that we cannot do enough community outreach. So the general plan is no exception. We've also said each element should also have a section addressing special needs groups. Again, I think it's only the housing element that touches on special needs. And they do a pretty good job of defining that, so you can use that as the model. And then last but not least, I think we've all seen, well, most of us have seen what the general plan looks like on the website. It really, really is in need of a facelift, a formatting change, so it's appropriate as a digital document. Right now, it looks like scanned typewriter pages, which is, I think, what it is. Okay, so those are general findings for all elements. Any questions or comments about that? No?
Manager Goodsell, perhaps we remove the perhaps, that's intentional.
Where's that?
It's under formatting facelift.
Commissioner Koblenz, Manager Goodsell, I agree.
Okay.
And to be consistent, Manager Goodsell here, would you like to title community engagement and feedback, communication and community engagement / feedback?
Or either way, I can change one to the other, just so that
Correct,
it's
one to
the
the other.
Do you guys have a preference? Do you want it to say community engagement and feedback, or communication and community engagement / feedback? Do you have a preference?
Commissioner Koblenz, I like the way it's written as it stands.
Okay. So do you want to change the same term basically in the executive summary Do you want that to say community engagement and feedback? Okay, we'll do that. Okay, and we'll change the language a little bit for the last paragraph of the general findings. Basically to say, well, to just state very, very clearly that the document needs updating and to standards for digital presentations. Okay, so first element in the general plan was land use element. We're basically saying that based on how the description of the policy, as well as the specific references to senior housing in the residential zones, that we have a stake in this. So it does address adults 50 plus, older adults. The only question is that there is no specific reference to senior housing for the R30 overlay or the mobile home park category. And so we make that point. The housing element, no, sorry, any questions about land use? No?
Manager Goodsell here, just a formatting issue where it says housing issue and needs identified. There's just extra space there.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that. Okay. The next element is housing element. The housing element is the most recently revised that we can tell. It does talk to affordable housing, aging in place, displacement of older adults. There is actually references to universal design, which I had not expected, but our commission has been heavily advocating universal design for quite some time. So it's nice to see it's in the element, even if it's not really been implemented anywhere. I don't feel like I want to go into all the specifics here, unless somebody has some questions about them. I mean, basically, we're saying housing element does a pretty good job of addressing senior citizen commission's requirements. Okay. Next is the circulation element, AKA transportation and mobility. The Senior Citizen Commission considers mobility and transportation as critical. We've seen this in any number of discussions. You can talk about resources, locations, facilities, but somehow you need to get from point A to point B. So we strongly believe that there is alignment that needed for between the Senior Citizen Commission and the circulation element. The comment here is that the circulation element appears to be last revised in 2003. Not quite horse-drawn carriages and buggies, but almost. It does describe private automobiles as dominant form of transportation, but does not talk about electric vehicles and their required infrastructure. Does not talk about, it talks about bicycles and horses, but does not really discuss some of the newer technology like e-bikes and their impact on traffic safety. It does mention public transportation and mass transit, but I think it should also include concepts like microtransit as well as ride-sharing services. So that's kind of what we're addressing here are the deficiencies that we find in the circulation element. And it's mainly because it's just been so long since it's been up to date. So we conclude by saying a well-defined and modern circulation element is essential to maintaining the quality of life in the city of Encinitas, not just for older adults, but for residents of all ages. Any comments or questions or changes that we'd like to have for circulation element? No? Okay, let's move on to public safety. The public safety element was last revised, as far as we can tell, in 1995. We believe, the Senior Citizen Commission, our ad hoc group, believes this element also needs to be updated to address such things as climate resiliency, coastal erosion, expanding wildfire risk, near high-density multifamily residential construction, as well as multimode personal transportation, as they will affect disaster and emergency preparedness, as well as fire and traffic safety. In particular, and I think this is actually something specifically that California state mandates are now requiring. There are a number of state mandates from 2024 that have yet to be implemented in our public safety element. So we identify what those are and what they address, and basically recommend that public safety element gets an update. Any questions? Comments, changes? No? Okay. Let's move on to resource management element. Resource management element was last revised, as far as we can tell, in 2011. And much like the land use element is strongly coupled to other elements in the general plan, including land use, recreation, circulation, and housing. Resource management tends to address air quality, water quality, waste management, protection of our city's natural resources and open spaces. That includes coastal and ecologically sensitive regions, and it also addresses cultural resources and historic preservation. We think it is a vital part of the general plan. The one comment that we have here is it appears that the preservation of agriculture, goals 11 and 12, appear to be somewhat dated. I don't think City of Encinitas is strongly agricultural anymore, and that should be reflected in this element. Appendix B does talk about elderly, and this is, again, a terminology thing. We hear multiple terms to address our demographic. I've seen seniors, I've seen elderly, older adults, and we would like to standardize to older adults and define that in our glossary of terms as adults 50 plus. Appendix B of the resource management element does talk about, just make sure I got the right page here, hold on. Oh, sorry, that was the housing element. Research management, there we go. That was it, I guess. Just goals 11 and 12. Okay, any questions about resource management? No? Okay, let's move on to the next one, recreation element. This one should be near and dear to our heart because it includes parks, recreations, and cultural arts, I think. Now, the recreation element was last revised in 2003, and we found it very curious that it doesn't really talk about the community center at all. There is a dot on a map that says community center, but in the context of the recreation element, it is treated as a community park. And I don't know if that's a legitimate definition or not. When we talk about outdoor spaces, I don't think we think about beaches, parks, and trails, but there's also this additional category of public indoor spaces, facilities. So that's kind of where we found a sticking point. And we felt that facilities such as the Community and Senior Center, the Pacific View Arts Center, they should not be classified as community parks, but as something else, without the full context of how these public indoor facilities are meant to be used. So for meetings, for community building, educational programs, cultural programs, that kind of thing. So there is probably a few paragraphs that could be added easily to the recreation element to clarify what the use is for our facilities. Any questions or comments? Any suggested changes at this point? Okay, we're going to move on to the noise element, last but not least. So the noise element apparently was last revised in 1994, and this was clearly before the rise in popularity of pickleball and the more vibrant nightlife, I think, on Coastal Highway 101. So it only addresses transportation noise and industrial noise and really doesn't pay too much attention to what I would call urban noise issues and disorderly conduct. So I feel that The noise element could also do with some updates, and that's what we're recommending. There don't appear to be any state compliance concerns, and we actually did take a look at the equivalent documents in other cities' general plans, and they also focus on transportation and on transportation noise and industrial noise. But we're suggesting we take into account urban noise as well. Any comments, questions?
This is Commissioner Angel. I just want to make note that since this was last revised, it looks 1994, that Cardiff has received, I can't remember the exact term, but the train is not required to blow its horn anymore. And my understanding is the city of Encinitas is currently working on having this provision apply for the rest of the city.
So, thank you. So technically, I think that still falls under transportation noise, although it is an urban noise situation. Okay, so that's the first section. The first section is basically identifying alignments and gaps in the general plan and the various elements. The second section, which is titled Additional Recommendations, are recommendations from the Senior Citizen Commission by way of the ad hoc working on this about specific things that we would like to see in each of these elements. Highlights, I think, are really emphasizing and embedding universal design in new housing proposals and construction, modernizing transportation and safety planning, expanding accessibility standards, formalizing community engagement. That's back to making sure we actually address community feedback and outreach in each of the sections of the elements, and also ensuring that residents of all ages and abilities can continue to thrive in our city. Do I need to go into details? Anybody interested in the specifics of the recommendations, or can I?
Commissioner Koblenz, I don't see Resource Navigator on here.
It's in there. Yeah. We put it in there just for you.
And this is Commissioner Hanway, and I just would like to say that it's a wonderful thing to have a vehicle that allows us to talk about important things like universal design, which has been high on our list for a long time.
Yeah. So if you look under additional recommendations, and I've highlighted it in bold, at the end of those bullets, we also have a paragraph that says, we also strongly encourage the City of Encinitas to create a staff assignment for a Resource Navigator to assist the Communication Director with community outreach and provide advice and guidance to Encinitas residents and visitors on accessing services and resources that are offered by our city but are challenging to connect to without the experience and resourcefulness of city staff. Are we good? Okay. Is anyone interested in going line by line through this, or are we good with the summary? No? I guess we can open this up to public comment. Are there any speakers for this work plan item?
No, there are no speakers for public comment.
Okay. So I think we can be done here. Do I have a motion to approve the work plan item 9 document with the changes that we've recommended today?
Commissioner Koblenz making a motion to approve the document we presented today with the agreed upon changes.
Okay, Commissioner Koblenz has made the motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Commissioner Hanway, I second the motion.
Okay, Commissioner Hamwood seconded the motion. Can we go to vote?
Let the record show that the motion passes with 4 commissioners voting yes and with Commissioner Geiber and Martin absent.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. I think we are done here. Let's go through the rest of the agenda. Agenda item 7, commissioner member initiated agenda items. Do we have any commission member initiated agenda items today?
There are none.
Okay, now we're on to agenda item 8, future agenda items added by commission members. I'm looking at the commissioners here. Do we have any agenda items that you want to add for the next time? And keep in mind that you need consensus of 2 or more commissioners to do that. No? All right. In that case, the February 3rd, 2026 Senior Citizen Commission meeting is, special meeting is hereby adjourned at 2:27 p.m. Thank you, everybody.
Team, well done.
For smaller improvements, they're looking at signal timing, they're looking at